today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the platform. As you know, Sujita gave me a very kind introduction, so I lead entertainment partnerships for Twitter in India. Have been at Twitter for the past 3 and something years, which in the world of technology companies feels like a lifetime, since so much is happening every single day. And I'm really excited to have a very unique audience with us. Typically, when I'm out there talking to people, it's normally people from the entertainment industry. So this is a very new crowd for me, so I really welcome your questions at the end of it, and we can try and see how Twitter can be helpful to you. So to start off, just a very basic question. How many people in the room actually have a Twitter account and use Twitter regularly? Okay, not bad. I would say 50%-ish. So this next video that I'm going to play for you is not for those 50% of you who raised your hands. It's for the 50% of you who may be afraid to use Twitter and may not have used the platform before. The video is an example of why you should not be afraid to use Twitter, and it's also pardon because we are an American company, you know, it's based in the US. So a quick introduction.
I don't know what to do. I don't understand this.
1034.
Where is he?
Second floor, guy's a mess.
This doesn't make any sense.
Need a bullhorn?
Brought my own.
Kevin, I'm here to help. Don't worry, it's just Twitter.
But how do I even get started?
Just press the button and pick a name. Come on, Kevin, let's go Twitter.
My name's not Kevin. It's Kenny. Kenny G.
Hold on, your name is Kenny G.
Oh, the name's already taken.
Yeah, I'm less surprised than you are.
I should just quit.
How about Notorious Kenny G?
It's available. I do like that. Now it wants to know my interests. Entertainment. Comic books. Movies.
Look, I mean, there's so many people to follow. I mean, there's a lady over here that likes geodes.
Who doesn't love geodes?
Many people.
I like geodes.
Kenny, keep following.
Joe Bruin. K-pop.
Thanks for the follow.
Come on, Kenny, I want you to come out here and follow everyone.
You can do it. Just follow all.
I'm gonna follow every one of you. This is awesome.
So that was basically a video to show you that often when I'm in conversations and talking to people about Twitter, they'll say, I don't know how to start. I don't know how to get started. So that was just a short video to show you it's very easy. All you have to do is go to the app, download the app, and literally follow the instructions. So the purpose of today's presentation is twofold. One is let's understand why to tweet, and let's understand how to tweet. So those are the two things that we're going to delve into today. And at the end, of course, we'll leave some room for questions. You can also, those of you who already use Twitter, feel free to tweet along with the session. You can use the hashtag Let's Go Twitter, and so that way we can track those tweets together. So let's start with why. So often when I'm talking to people, and even in today's introduction actually, you would have seen the presentation said that Twitter is a social media app. In some ways that's true, but in most ways it's actually not true. So as a platform, Twitter is a news app. Most people use Twitter to stay on top of the news, whether the news is in entertainment, or whether it's in business or finance, or whether it's in current affairs or politics. Twitter is what's happening. So whenever you think about an app that will tell you a good collection of what's happening in the world, imagine Twitter being that app. So like I said, Twitter is what's happening in the world and what people are talking about. And the crux of the platform at the end of the day are the people, right? So whether it's people who share a perspective with you or people who do not share a perspective of you, everybody has a perspective and they come to the platform to share that perspective. I think what keeps Twitter different from other platforms is that it allows you to connect with experts in the field. So I don't know how many of you, show of hands if you've heard of Anupama Chopra, the film critic. No? Some? I was having a conversation with her, and she actually has a huge, I guess, respect for a critic in the US. And she happened to tweet at him saying, you know, I love your work. I'm a big admirer of your work. Can you come to India and do a lecture for people in India to tell them about how your story around how did you become a film critic and what do you think is important about criticizing films? And he actually responded to her and came to India and actually did a talk. So the idea is that it allows you to connect with people who are interesting, who matter, and who maybe you otherwise wouldn't get access to. So think of it as that equalizer. Most social media platforms today have a very look at me policy. I was walking around the mall the other day and I saw these young kids, must have been, 15, 16, taking selfies of themselves. And I knew that those were going up on social media. The reality is that most people think about social media as a look at me platform. But actually what's different about Twitter is that it's a look at this platform. So for example, when Hima Das won the 400-meter race, people came to Twitter to talk about Hima Das' success. Not about how successful they are at running, but how proud that they were that the Indian beat this record. So think of Twitter as a platform to look at this as opposed to looking at me. And that's why, because of this mentality of look at this, people actually come to Twitter in a very discovery-focused mindset. So they come to the platform to try and learn things. They want to engage, they want to have a conversation, they actually want to be able to talk to people and learn from them. So this nature of discovery is very important when you're thinking about the audience you're talking to. You're not thinking about an audience that has the intention of just coming to scroll blindly through what they're seeing. They actually want to engage and have a conversation with you. So what that ends up converting to is that Twitter is a platform where you find your most valuable audiences when they're most receptive. So when they're listening, when they're keen to hear, when they're keen to talk to you. Just before this, we were talking about this idea of customer service, right? So people, Mumbai Police is a great example of a Twitter handle that has totally transformed the way police operates in India. So they have an active team that looks at anyone who's tagging Mumbai Police on Twitter and is actually answering those complaints. So for example, a friend of ours, we were talking to them, said that they were stuck in traffic. They ended up tweeting at Mumbai Police, and even though Mumbai Police couldn't do anything because traffic is traffic at the end of the day, they did reply to them to say, looks like there's an issue, all roads are blocked where you are, please stay calm and the issue will be resolved soon. So you know that they're there to listen to you. So that idea of customer service is a really important one. So let me talk about 4 characteristics of why Twitter is what it is. One, it is live, right? So when you, for example, are watching a cricket World Cup or upcoming elections, you want to stay on top of what's happening, or even for that matter, right now what's happening with India-Pakistan, you may want to stay on top of the news. You will follow those conversations live on the platform. So Twitter really shines when there's a live event happening. Second, it's public. So what that means is every tweet you put out there is there for everyone to see. And that's something that all of us should hold with a lot of responsibility, because at the end of the day, even though it may feel like I'm just tagging Sucheta, I'm not. Everyone who follows me and follows her, and anyone who searches for both of our accounts can actually see that tweet out in the public. So it's live, it's public, it's conversational. So I can have a conversation with any of you in the room on the platform. And in fact, Moneylife tweeted just before I came here saying that this session was happening, and I immediately replied on Twitter saying I'm excited to be here and see all of you. So that idea of conversation is what differentiates the platform. And the last is distributed. So tweets travel everywhere. Now, I'm sure all of you know how actively Donald Trump uses the platform, for example. But the reality is that those tweets don't live only on Twitter. CNN covers those tweets, the New York Times cover those tweets, Times Now covers those tweets, every channel, media outlet, press outlet covers those tweets. So there's a responsibility with that, and that fact is that we have to be aware that those tweets can travel across the world. That can be a good thing, because if you're a small organization and you want to reach a large audience, you can actually use the medium to do that. So that was why should we tweet. Let's now talk about how. So all of this is great, but when it comes to actually using the platform, how do you do that? So let's start from the absolute base case of 0. I'm sorry, this may be a little bit boring for those of you who already use the platform, but I'm going to start from the basics and then we can obviously pick it up from there. So very, very basics of Twitter. When you sign into your account and you follow all of those people like the video showed you, those people that you're interested in following, you'll be taken to your home timeline. This is what your home timeline looks like. There are a few basic things for you to know. Your username is your identity. It doesn't have to be your name, but it's your handle. So for example, my handle happens to be my name, which is Kia Madhvani. It could also be something that I'm interested in. So for example, if I was really passionate about the environment, my handle could be The Environmentalist, but my name could still be Kia Madhvani. So that's the difference between a name and a handle. A hashtag is the symbol that was used to curate conversations. So when Twitter was actually originally formed, I don't know how many of you know this, but it was created as an SMS platform. So the idea was that as an SMS, user of SMS, I could text a number and that would be considered a tweet, which is why the limitation of 140 characters, because 160 characters was what an SMS was back in the day. So when the conversation started evolving on Twitter and lots of people started using the platform, there was this man who basically said, you know, all of these conversations are happening, but I don't know how to track these conversations. So in order to track these conversations, I need a symbol that will help me store those conversations under a specific channel. So think of that hashtag as that channel, and this is a true story. There was actually a user on the platform who created the hashtag. And so the hashtag became that way to collect information under a specific topic, whether that topic is hashtag India elections, or whether that topic is hashtag environment, the environment, or whatever that issue is that you're trying to talk about. The next is a reply. Like I said, conversational platform, so you want to be able to reply to someone when they're tweeting at you, and that means you're tweeting at them. A retweet is when I endorse that person's tweet and I want to tweet that and share that out with the world, so it appears on my timeline as well. And then likes, very simple. I agree with their tweet, I want to support their tweet, so I'm going to like it and show my support for that. Twitter Explore is the Explore tab, which is that little kind of, what do you call it, like the clue, the magnifying glass. And the magnifying glass will help you discover what topics are trending on the platform. So when it comes to all of you independently, how do you build and enhance your profiles, right? So if you sign up to Twitter, you'll obviously have your timeline, which will be your profile. You'll select your username, you'll select your name, and after that you'll have to select something which we call the bio. The bio is really important because your bio is what tells people who you are. So there are 3 ways to write your bio. 1, describe what you do and your values, what you stand for. 2, tell your followers what to expect from following you. And 3, explain your product and service and link it to your company profile. So depending on who your persona is, if you're either representing your company as a leader of your company, or you're just using Twitter as a platform to start your social movement, or you're doing it as just a regular employee of a company and you want to kind of create a persona for yourself, based on that you'll decide how to customize this. So let me show you 2 good examples of great bios out there. One is Richard Branson, of course, who we all know. His bio reads, tie-loathing adventurer, philanthropist and troublemaker who believes in turning ideas into reality, otherwise known as Dr. Yes at Virgin. So that is his personality. That's what encompasses not only his professional personality but also his personal personality, which we know is a little bit of a thrill seeker and adventurer. And then Vani Kola, venture capitalist, I actually can't read it from here, but I'm sure you all can read it, and who is at Kalari Capital. So she talks about, you know, being a mom and also being, you know, professional, and that's what defines her personality. So when you think about how to tweet, what to tweet, right? I love this tweet because it really encapsulates the essence of what it is about. Tweet simple. Your lead line is what you want people to think. Your link hashtag is what you want them to do. And your image video is how you want them to feel. So people actually have a sense that Twitter is only a platform for words. That was true at one point in time, but not anymore. You can use video, you can use images. to describe what you're doing and experiencing, and actually link that to what you're talking about. So again, think of what do you want your consumers to think, and your consumers are obviously your audiences. That's your active statement. What do you want them to do? What is the call to action? So if you're actually tweeting something, you want people, for example, to contribute to your cause, or you want people to sign up for a workshop, or you want people to support a change-making statement. That link is what that represents. And how do you want them to feel? At the end of the day, we all know that people respond best to feelings. When they feel something and they're emotionally connected to what you're talking about, they're more likely to engage with what you're saying. And so you want to use the image or the video over there to actually create that feeling of connection. So let's talk through some key principles about tweeting. Number one, keep it brief. So Twitter is known as a platform for brevity, and that is actually true. The briefest and most succinct tweets do the best. Initially it was 140 characters, like I explained, because of the SMS constraint. The interesting story over here is that we found that Japan was a market that was using Twitter in a very interesting way. And we were wondering why Japan uses it so interestingly, but other markets like maybe Germany don't use it as well. And what we discovered through our research was that words in Japan are smaller. So words in Japanese are smaller and they convey a lot more emotion. Whereas words in German, if you've seen German words, they're long. So what ended up happening was 140 characters were not enough to convey the same emotion in German as it was to convey the same emotion in Japanese. And that's actually true of our Indic languages as well. Different languages have different constraints. Some languages in the south, for example, are longer words, whereas in the north we have shorter words. And so those things actually have an impact on how people use the medium. So we expanded it from 140 to 280 characters because of that. But what we found is that people still actually, when they need to, only use 140 characters. Behavior doesn't change. They enjoy the brevity, they enjoy the briefness. And so I'd encourage you all, when you tweet, to keep it simple. I chose this tweet because obviously, this movie called Period End of Sentence won an Oscar award just last week. And the producer of that film was an Indian, Guneet Monga. And so I love this message because it's so simple and it conveys so much emotion and feeling. And of course, it's clear by everyone's responses how happy they were and to support her win. The second is focus your message. So convey what you're trying to say with an image and use that image to support what you're saying. So this person has tweeted icons watching icons, which is true of what she's seeing. And that's actually, obviously the gateway of India. So let the image support what you're trying to say and be clever with your words. Don't be afraid to try and be kind of innovative and creative. The next is incorporate hashtags. Often I see people tweeting with 20 hashtags in one tweet and nothing much to say. That doesn't really help your message. Think of a hashtag as something that is helping you in a very strategic way. So in this case, we had someone who was tweeting to engage fans in a Q&A session on Twitter, and he just used a very simple hashtag. Hashtag ask LKG, which was the movie. Now, by using that hashtag, it's very clear what he's asking people to do. He's asking people to ask him questions, right? So it's one hashtag, it's simple, it's clear. It's not 50 hashtags. That does not increase your discoverability. It just annoys people because nobody wants to see so many hashtags on a tweet. They want to actually follow you to learn what you have to say. And then the last one is, second last one is being conversational. So in this case, sometimes we tweet from the Twitter India handle saying, which is our public handle that represents India, what is going on, to tell you what's going on in India on Twitter and what's interesting. Often we'll just tweet a simple thing like this one, which I think is, so I think it was just a simple question, kya ho raha hai? And people responded with a bunch of different responses. It didn't say much, but it engaged with people, and we realized that people were more likely to respond to a tweet that was asking a question than that one that wasn't. Because at the end of the day, at a very base level, people want to respond. So I think if I remember clearly, the tweet was, kya ho raha hai? Somebody responded saying, nahi batayenge. And then there was another response from us with the monkey covering his eyes. So Twitter is about having a conversation, ask a question, and people will be more likely to respond. And then this one is a really fun one, which is you have to kind of be, I guess, plugged into the internet culture and the internet language, which is its own language kind of that lives by itself on the internet. But in this example, there was this trend going on digital media where a bunch of people had tweeted, we really, lots of reallys with one statement. And Google tweeted this initially, and then a bunch of other handles decided to capture that trend and started replying to it. So one of my favorite responses was actually this one from Bombay Stock Exchange, which you wouldn't expect to be very pop culture-y in their references, but they were good, and they said, we really encourage you to be careful about addressing the messages when somebody tweets you things that you should not be listening to. So it was a public service message, but they did it in a funny, entertaining way, and this ended up being one of their top 3 most retweeted tweets of all time. So it's clear that people want this kind of lighter side of the internet, and they enjoy that. So let's go into the last bit, which is what. And in this section, I really want to give you a few key examples of people who have used the platform well. So let's take into account these 3 different kinds of people, right? We have an entrepreneur, we have a founder, and we have a designer. Entrepreneur, Alexa von Tobel. Her bio reads, I am a dreamer, founder, CEO of LearnVest, working hard to make financial advice accessible for millions of Americans, New York Times bestselling author, CFP, and new mom. That's her bio. We have a founder who says, company builder, ex-Google, Amazon, all of her company's names, and then she also sends a hashtag, which is, I think, choose responsibility, which is what she wants to advocate. And then the last one is a designer who says, artist, activist, inventor, designer of intelligent things, etc., etc. So you can see that each person has created their bio very clearly, like Richard Branson did, to encapsulate what they're trying to say and who they are. And then they carry that idea of who they are through to their tweets. So for example, the entrepreneur, her main headline is financial and entrepreneurial guidance. So all of her tweets focus around this idea of financial and entrepreneurial guidance. She's very consistent with her messaging. Think of it as her public persona, right? So she wants to be clear, she wants to build a career in this field, she wants to be known as this person, and so she's very clear on how she has to represent that person. Sure, occasionally we may use our Twitter accounts to complain about something or engage in a conversation that's not necessarily true to our brand, but that is true to who you are. But just be mindful of the fact that while you tweet, you want to be clear about who you are and what you're trying to convey, so what your message is out there to the world. Similar with this founder, whose kind of main themes are female leadership, guidance, and empowerment. These are the things and the issues that are important to her, so her entire account represents that. And lastly, for the designer, it's about inspiring creativity and design. So she wants to be sure that people use her account as inspiration and are inspired by her creativity and keen sense of design, and hopefully will kind of learn from her in the process. So coming up to kind of wrap up the session, I wanted to share with you some of the suite of products that we offer to everyone who uses the platform. So you don't have to do anything to gain access to this other than download the app and sign up for an account. And what you'll get access to is uploading Twitter video. So you can record a video and upload it. I use this actually quite often, especially in cases of I guess if I want to alert the government about something. So for example, when there was a fire outside my building, I recorded a video and I tweeted it at the fire department so that they saw where the location was. So that's one interesting way of using it. But you could also talk about, literally if you want to say something that you think is maybe not possible to convey in words, you can record a small video of you talking about your message and then upload that onto Twitter. Live video is kind of similar, where we see people using it in very interesting ways when they're in a moment. So actually, interestingly, the time we saw live video on Twitter work phenomenally well was when there are crises, right? So when there is, for example, an earthquake or a relief effort. During the floods actually in Kerala, a lot of people were broadcasting content live from their Twitter handles, and it was actually helping the thing is that if it's live, it's authentic. So that is something that keeps the authenticity of the video. And then GIFs are just fun ways of expression. So if you go into your Twitter handle, you'll see a little button called GIF, and GIF is just something that you can use an animated picture to express yourself. Polls are when you want to seek feedback from the audience. So we've actually seen musicians use this in a very interesting way. If they're deciding their tour, right? So which country, which cities to go on tour, they'll tweet out saying, I'm planning to go to Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, Chennai. Which city should I go to next? And people can vote based on what they want. So that way they can actually influence an outcome. Moments are short digests. Think of them as little stories and series of tweets that live together. So for example, if you click on your Explore tab on your Twitter app and you scroll down, you'll see a bunch of moments, and those will give you a collection of the best insights on that specific topic. For the sake of full transparency, while Twitter doesn't mess with your timeline, so we don't editorialize your timeline. That is exactly based on who you follow. We do editorialize moments, so we actually pick tweets to curate moments, and there is a team that decides what moments get made based on what conversations are happening on the platform. But they're always neutral, and they rarely ever take a side one way or the other. So quickly going into just these few last points. You want to master the basics, so use pictures. You can use multiple images, so you can use up to 4 images on Twitter in one tweet. Not all pictures are created equally, so make the picture related to your tweet copy. Like I mentioned, don't just randomly post a picture and without any context. That often doesn't help. You can use native video, so you can upload video onto the platform. And then, while we allow video uploads up to 10 minutes in length, try to keep your video length to about 140 seconds is what we recommend. So about 2-ish minutes or less. And with that, thank you for your attention.